The terminal buzzed with the usual chatter, the shuffle of bags and rolling wheels across tile floors. But at gate 42B, tension quietly took over. A Marine in full-dress uniform stood beside a flag-draped casket, his gloved hand resting firmly on the stars and stripes. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the flag," said the airport manager, voice clipped but uncertain. The Marine didn't move. Passengers began to look over, sensing something was happening. The air felt heavier, a moment forming in the middle of routine. The manager gestured for security. The Marine stood still. The Marine didn't budge. Back straight, eyes forward, gloved hands still gently laid atop the casket. The request was repeated, louder now, but he remained quiet. People paused mid-conversation and watched. The airport manager looked frustrated, misunderstanding the silence as defiance. The Marine's focus never wavered from the casket. He didn't look angry. He looked committed. No scene, no confrontation, just unshakable purpose. Around him, confusion built. The tension wasn't in raised voices, but in the refusal to abandon a duty that clearly meant more than a boarding schedule or standard procedure. He wasn't moving, and he wasn't explaining, yet. Then the Marine finally spoke, his voice steady and calm. "With all due respect, sir, this isn't cargo. This is a Marine." The words landed heavily in the space between them. "And I will not leave his side." The airport staff looked stunned. He turned his head slightly toward a TSA agent who had stepped forward. "There are protocol," he said quietly, "and then there is honor." Beneath the flag lay a young Marine, Corporal Jake Morrison, just 23 years old, killed in action, coming home under solemn escort. The Marine's duty was to remain with the body no matter what. Jake wasn't just any fallen soldier. He had been the one the Marine had trained with, laughed with, and fought beside in rugged hills far from home. The Marine had carried him once before, after Jake twisted his ankle on patrol. Now he carried him one last time. Their bond had been forged in battle and sealed in brotherhood. Every wrinkle of the flag represented something personal. Every memory of Jake's stories about his mom's lemon pie, his dad's fishing trips, the song he hummed after missions. This wasn't formality. This was a final journey of love and loyalty. Still, the staff persisted. "Sir, this is not a funeral home. We don't do ceremonies here," the manager said, more impatient now. "You're holding up operations." The Marine didn't respond to the bureaucracy. He stood silent, grounded not in regulation, but in a code older than the airport, older than any protocol. He could have explained the tradition, the sacred watch of the fallen. But some things are too sacred to defend with words. He remained exactly where he was, a figure of quiet resistance. Passengers whispered, torn between curiosity and a dawning realization of what they were witnessing. Then a voice rose from the silence. Not angry, not official, just curious. "Mommy, why is he touching the flag?" A little girl, no older than 6, clutching a teddy bear, had wandered close. Her mother whispered for her to hush, but the Marine looked down and gave her a small, respectful nod. "Because he's making sure someone gets home," he said softly. The crowd stilled. Security stopped in their tracks. The manager hesitated. That single answer, so pure and sincere, cracked open the indifference. Suddenly, the formality was gone, and the human story stood center stage. The Marine slowly began to move, not with permission, but with purpose. One slow, steady step at a time, his hand never leaving the casket. Passengers parted silently. Hats came off, hands covered hearts. A veteran in a wheelchair saluted. No one dared speak. Someone began to softly sing the national anthem, and others joined, voices low, reverent. The moment swelled, not with noise, but with unity. The airport had transformed, from bustling to still, from protocol to reverence. The Marine led the casket through the gate, not as a courier of remains, but as a bearer of honor. At the edge of the gate, the family stood waiting. The mother collapsed into sobs at the sight of the flag. The father stood trembling, offering a salute. The sister dropped to her knees, whispering, "Welcome home, Jake." The Marine's gloves were soaked in sweat now, but his posture held firm. Only when he reached the family did he finally release the casket. He folded the flag, precise, methodical, respectful. Then he knelt and placed it gently in the mother's hands. "He didn't die alone," he said quietly. "He was loved. He was honored." The family clung to the moment. The Marine stood up. Silence returned. Then, unexpectedly, the airport manager stepped forward. His face had changed, red-eyed, voice low. I didn't understand," he said. "I'm sorry." The Marine looked at him and gave a single nod. "Now you do." Applause followed, not loud but slow, sincere. It echoed through the terminal like a memory awakening. Passengers weren't just witnesses, they were part of something greater. Because in that moment, they hadn't just seen a man doing his duty, they had seen a nation remember its fallen. If this story touched you, like, comment, subscribe, and share a karma below.